When I was younger, I believed starting a business was as simple as having a great idea. You dream it, you build it, and the customers flock to your door. But then, reality hit me like a freight train. Did you know that 82% of businesses fail because of cash flow problems? Shocking, right? Most of these failures could have been avoided if someone had just taught those entrepreneurs the basics of business finance. Imagine running a marathon but never training your body. That's what starting a business without financial knowledge is like. Whether it's about understanding profit margins or cash flow, you must know the numbers. Let me tell you a story. Imagine a startup founder named Sarah. She's brilliant. She has an innovative product and a small team. But within 6 months, Sarah's business shuts down. Why? Because she used 70% of her capital on marketing and had no reserves for operational costs. This is where budgeting comes into play. A simple rule to follow is the 50-30-20 rule. 50% for essentials like inventory and salaries, 30% for growth strategies, and 20% for savings or unexpected expenses. Apply this rule and you'll never run out of cash when you need it most. Entrepreneurs must treat every dollar like a soldier. Assign it a mission. And if you think budgeting is boring, think of it this way. Every dollar saved is a dollar reinvested in your dream. Now, let's talk about funding. Do you know how many ways there are to fund your business? More than you might think. You could bootstrap or get a bank loan or pitch to a venture capitalist. But in 2025, a new star is shining in the funding galaxy. Revenue-based financing. Instead of paying fixed EMIs, you repay based on your monthly revenue. Let's say you borrow $50,000. Instead of stressing over a $5,000 monthly payment, you pay 10% of your revenue. This method is gaining traction because it aligns with your growth, another overlooked option. Grants. In 2025, governments and private organizations are offering grants worth $30 billion worldwide. A little research could save you thousands of dollars. Have you ever heard the saying, cash is king? Well, in business, it's more like an emperor. Managing cash flow effectively is the difference between thriving and shutting down. Imagine you run a bakery. You sell cakes on credit, but suppliers demand immediate payment. Within weeks, you're in trouble. Here's the trick. Implement a net 30 payment policy for customers while negotiating net 60 terms with suppliers. That's 30 extra days of breathing room for your cash flow. And here's a golden nugget. Always keep a reserve fund covering at least 3 months of expenses. Think of it as your financial life jacket. Taxes. Yes, they're boring. But avoiding them, that's a one-way ticket to disaster. In 2025, startups have access to more tax deductions than ever. Did you know that you can deduct expenses for co-working spaces, software subscriptions, and even marketing costs? For instance, if your startup spent $20,000 on software, you could save up to $6,000 in taxes depending on your country. But don't do it alone. Hire a professional or use AI-driven tax software that can identify deductions that you might miss. Remember, paying less in taxes legally means more money for growth. Let's talk profit margins. If you think profits are what's left after expenses, you're wrong. Profit margins are the heartbeat of your business. A healthy profit margin for startups in 2025 is around 20 to 30%, depending on the industry. Here's an example. If you sell a product for $100 and it costs $60 to make, your profit margin is 40%. But what if I told you that by negotiating with suppliers or switching to eco-friendly materials, you could reduce costs by 10%? Suddenly, your profit jumps to 50% without raising prices. Small changes lead to big results. Now, scaling. Everyone dreams of scaling, but few understand the financial discipline that it requires. Imagine you're running a successful local cafe and you want it to expand. Without proper planning, you'll burn out financially. Always project your costs and revenues before scaling. For instance, if opening a new branch costs $100,000, calculate how long it'll take to break even. A simple ROI calculator can save you from disastrous decisions. And here's a pro tip. Don't invest in fixed assets early on. Instead, lease equipment or space to keep your capital free. Debt. Should you avoid it at all costs? Well, not necessarily. There's a difference between good debt and bad debt. Good debt is an investment that generates more revenue than it costs. For example, if I borrow $20,000 to upgrade machinery that boosts my production by 30%, that's good debt. Bad debt is borrowing for non-essential expenses like luxury office furniture. The trick is to calculate your debt-to-equity ratio. It should ideally be below a 2-to-1 ratio. This means that for every dollar of equity, you should have less than $2 of debt. Marketing and finances go hand in hand. You might have the best product in the world, but without marketing, nobody knows it exists. Marketing without tracking ROI is like pouring water into a bucket with holes. Let's say that you spend $10,000 on a campaign, and if it generates $30,000 in sales, your ROI is 200%. Use tools like Google Analytics or HubSpot to track every dollar spent. And remember, in 2025, influencer marketing and AI-driven ads are leading the pack. Finally, mindset. Yes, finance is numbers, but it's also about perspective. If you see money as a limited resource, you'll always struggle. Instead, think of it as energy, something that you can grow. Study stories of entrepreneurs who started with nothing and built empires. Did you know Jeff Bezos started Amazon in a garage with $300,000 investments? Today, it's a $1 trillion company. Keep learning, stay curious, and never stop innovating. In 2025, opportunities are endless, but only for those who prepare. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to share it with fellow entrepreneurs. Let's grow together. See you in the next video.